All right. Welcome in to the Toilets to Titles podcast, episode number 7, coming to you live on the YouTube. And you could be listening to us now via YouTube, via Podbean. We've made it to Apple Podcasts. We're on Periscope, so we're on multiple platforms now. And the guys that you'll be hearing on all these platforms with me, my co-host, Justin at JustinFF_, and Nate at Nate_Dirt19. Fellas, how we doing this week?
I'm doing pretty well, but you didn't introduce yourself.
Here's Johnny.
Oh, man, with the drop. Look at you coming in hot with that. Well,
I'm having fun with this. I'm going to figure it out. I'm having fun with it, though.
Nate, you having fun, man? How you doing?
Doing well. Just been working on the house. Had a little break from the heat, I guess. It wasn't as hot as it has been, so it's been pretty good.
Now, has the beard been shaved? I missed the last episode that you were on. Was the beard shaved?
No, it was. I hadn't trimmed it up. Then we had a baby shower last weekend, and so I trimmed it up so it didn't look. I'm not too presentable anyways, so look a little better now, I guess, right?
I mean, it's clean shaven, man. It's looking very, very smooth for the listeners. I'd like, now that we're on Apple Podcasts, I think Nate felt we needed to, step up. I didn't get the memo.
No.
I didn't get the memo, but Nate's looking like he's getting ready for a job interview.
No, I hope not.
I mean, it depends. It depends on what it is. You know what I mean? Well, anyway, I didn't mention myself. You can find me on Twitter at Coach Sheps. Gentlemen, tonight we have a pretty loaded podcast. If you can hear, that's my dog in the background. I'm up at the lake, at our family's lake house, and I'm coming to you live from a spot where I'm not usually recording from. But we called an audible today and decided to come up here, so I had to adapt. So she might be barking here and there. But anyway, the gang's back together, and we're talking ADP, but we're not just talking ADP like we talked the other week. We're playing a game of him or him, and it's going to be based upon value that we perceive at the player's ADP. Is this player too hot to pass up at this ADP, or would we rather wait, take somebody else there, and pick somebody else later on? Now, before we get to that, again, like I said, you can find us in Apple Podcasts, Podbean, Periscope, YouTube. If you're watching us live now, you clearly understand that. If you're listening to us on those other platforms and you would rather watch us on YouTube, or you know what, even if you wouldn't rather watch us on YouTube, if you listen to us and you appreciate our show, please go on YouTube and subscribe. We are going to be on Twitter at Toilets to Titles. We'll be posting our YouTube link, our Podbean link. We're going to be posting our Apple Podcast link. So we appreciate reviews, subscribes, all that stuff, because we're trying to get this show off the floor level. You know what I mean? And I think we're doing a pretty good job. Now, for the listeners, what we have going on, we were doing a thing where every 50 followers, we were going to donate $10 each to Fantasy Cares. And right now we're 19 followers away, and this is on Twitter, from our first milestone. It was 239. I believe we're at 220 right now. So we've already gone up, 31 followers, I think is the math right there. So that's, and it's been about a week. So we really appreciate that. So get us there. We're going to make the donation. You help us. We're helping somebody else. Frankenstank League. Justin, how many spots do we have left?
We've got 2 spots available in the Frankenstank League for the listeners.
Okay, so we got 2 spots open. What was it? I think it was episode 4. It was YouTube only. We discussed the Frankenstank League. There's a lot of fun stuff we're going to be doing, starting off with a rock, paper, scissors competition, going to multiple drafts, rookie draft, veteran draft, QB only draft. It's going to be pretty juicy. So you want to get in this league. I believe it's $25, or it was either 25 or 35.
Yeah,
25. And we're doing it on MFL, so some of that money is going to go to MFL. But we gave away 1 spot to Matt Chu, our Aussie friend. He's getting in for free. We're paying, well, not free. There's going to be money in the pot for him, but we're covering that. And then we're going to give 1 other spot away. We're going to give one away to either the best Apple Podcast review And then actually we might give away 2. So we're going to give one away to the best Apple Podcast review by August 1st. And the second one, if we get up to 75 followers on YouTube, subscribers rather on YouTube, or 300 followers on Twitter, whichever comes first. So we might give away 2 other free entries into this league. And is it 12 or 14 team?
It's a 14-team league, 7 listeners and 7 hosts or friends of the show.
And I know who are some of the friends of the show. Hate to put you on the spot. I know we had Shane Hallam.
You're good. I've got it pulled up here. We've got Nate, John, myself, Shane Hallam, and Mike Jernigan. We do have a couple more spots open for the friends of the show, but we have people kind of lined up that we have in mind that we're going to discuss later. But I think we just wanted to kind of talk about it.
Right. Awesome. Well, that Jernigan's a good dude. He was my original co-host on Dynasty Warzone, so it's a buddy of mine. He'll be fun to play. So this thing is going to be juicy. But that's it for kind of news updates. But I do want to say before we get into this ADP discussion, it is nice to have a full cast for another episode.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
you guys held down the fort last week. Nate, you killed it, man. You killed it as Robin. You were an excellent Robin last week.
Hey, I'm glad I could do something,
Yeah, Justin was a good Batman.
Oh, yeah.
He held it down. I know, Nate, this is both of you guys. You're both fairly new at podcasting, and I think you guys are doing a great job. It's been very fun recording with you guys, and I'm looking forward to the future with you guys. But let's get into the meat and potatoes. Well, I don't even think that's
the
a
meat
word.
and taters.
Yeah. So ADP, him. We're going to talk redraft and dynasty. So the first one that we have is Dalvin Cook in redraft at 6th overall, and Josh Jacobs at 16th overall. This isn't a massive drop, but I think you do have to keep in mind that Dalvin Cook is threatening to hold out. Nate, first I'm going to ask you, who you taking?
Well, I kind of thought I was going to go more towards Dalvin Cook just because I think he's primed for another big year if he does play, and I think he'll play. I don't think I think the Vikings are going to pay him. I don't think that they can. I don't think Madison can do what Dalvin Cook does. I know he's had some injury concerns in the past, but I don't think that. I think last year showed what he can do, and I know Josh Jacobs has been pretty great, but I don't really trust the Raiders very often. So I'm going Dalvin Cook.
I like it. Justin?
I mean, I kind of agree, honestly. The 106 is kind of high for me. Actually, I thought I was ready for this, and I was thinking Dalvin Cook the whole way. But the more I'm thinking about this, 203 is quite a bit of a drop. So if I can get somebody different in that first round, like Derrick Henry, and then still get Josh Jacobs, because he's also going to work the full load. I know they brought in a rookie, and they've got a couple of guys, but they don't really have a Josh Jacobs. And Jacobs did get better as the season went, even with that sickness he had in the middle of the season. He came back from that and battled. So I don't know. I like his grit. I might hold off and go Josh Jacobs here. And
also we do have Lynn Bowden. He got drafted as a running back wide receiver tweener.
Yeah, but I really think he's going to be more of the receiving back. I think Josh Jacobs, and not that Josh Jacobs can't receive.
But that's still, the fact that he's going to take away some touches is still something you need to consider. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. You're not going to get that with Dalvin. He's the full workhorse. It's definitely a tough one.
Mm-hmm. This one, it's a toss-up. I don't think I'd take Dalvin Cook in the first round. So strictly speaking on that, I think I'd go Josh Jacobs here. But I think both of you covered each point. We have perspective on both sides of this. So there's not much I can add to that. This next one is interesting to me. Tyler Lockett at 49th overall, 10th pick in the 4th round, or A.J. Brown, 62nd overall, about a round later. 5th round, 11th pick. Justin, you start here. Who are you picking?
I'm going to take A.J. Brown because, honestly, if it's down to these two anyway, I'm taking A.J. Brown straight up. So I might be a whole round behind on the ADP. I might miss out. on a round's worth of ADP, but I'm okay with that. I just Tyler Lockett, I know he had that leg injury last season, and it really held him back for the second half of the season, but he just wasn't the same. But you've got DK Metcalf there. You've got it's going to be an interesting running game. I will say that with all the injuries back there. So they might go pass heavy, which really is intriguing to me. But I really think that A.J. Brown is the real deal. Another year in that offense, and I think he's going to have a huge breakout. So if I can take him in the late in the 5th round, I'll absolutely take that. How
about you, Nate?
Yeah, I gotta go with A.J. Brown, like he said. Just the whole round later is big, and with the emergence of DK Metcalf, it's just tough to know what's going to happen up there. I know I think there was a couple of years in a row redraft wise, I had Lockett on a couple different squads, and he's always been solid, but it seemed kind of inconsistent, and you just never know with the Seahawks what they're going to do. I mean, like you said, the run game is going to be hard to see what happens, but I just think, like I said, at that price, you got to go A.J. Brown.
Yeah, I'm going to say exactly what both of you said. I'm going A.J. Brown straight up. Even if I had to pick, regardless of round, if I had to pick one or the other, I'm taking A.J. Brown. I think he's going to get more targets. I think he's going to get more touches. I think he's going to outproduce him in PPR. I don't trust Seattle's passing attack. I don't know. I think we've said this on a past episode, with DK Metcalf. I don't necessarily trust him. I think he's going to have monster weeks. I think he's good for best ball, but he's not somebody I'm going to trust in my lineup. If he's my wide receiver 2, I'm okay. If he's my wide receiver 3, I feel great. I'm okay putting a guy who's boom or bust in my wide receiver 3. But, right here, A.J. Brown, 5'11", you're drafting him as possibly your wide receiver 3, or wide receiver 2, depending on how you drafted earlier. But I'm very happy with that. And I think Tannehill's shown he's got a connection with A.J. Brown. You don't have to worry about Corey Davis. There's not really, they're going to pound the rock. Defenses are going to stack the box against Derrick Henry. I think that's going to make A.J. Brown's job a little bit easier. He's going to attack the middle of the field. That's where he works. And I think him and Ryan Tannehill, like I said, they have that connection. So we're looking at a guy who's probably going to have 8 to 10 targets a game, probably about roughly average about 6 catches a game. In PPR, that's 6 points right there. All you need is about 70, 80 yards. Yeah, and you got 14 points right there. That's without touchdowns weekly. That's what I think.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were done.
No, go ahead.
I will say every time I sleep on Tyler Lockett or Allen Robinson, they bite me in the butt. And I'm kind of sleeping on Lockett this year, so it might be the year to take him.
I've never had Lockett. I've never owned him. So I don't know if I will, but judging on what you said, I might have to in a best ball league. Next one. This is Twitter's sweetheart right here. Miles Sanders, the 31st overall pick. The guy's already crowned the NFL rushing champ before the season even started. Or Clyde Edwards-Helaire at 69th overall, 6'3". Nate, who are you taking?
Edwards-Helaire. I can't pay for Miles Sanders. I know it's just the 3.6, but I don't know. I feel like Philly's never had
to move up. It's 3.6 is late. I'm telling you, it's
true.
By the time the season starts,
we're going to be like the 1.3, 1.4 probably.
No, like seriously, like it'll probably be like 2.3, 2.4. I think we're going to see it climb.
But I don't feel like Philly's really ever had a workhorse. It seems like they've always had a bit of a timeshare, and I know the same with Edwards-Helaire, but that's 3-4 rounds later. And I like, the upsides there, and that offense in Kansas City is going to be fun to watch. And I'd rather have a piece of that in the 6th round without a doubt.
Justin, what are you thinking?
I don't think that Damian Williams is dead yet, fellas. I really don't. And I know that Clyde Edwards-Helaire, he's a great talented back. He was great in college and all that, but he actually on player profile, all of his measurements actually don't even add up to what Damian Williams was when he was coming out of college. So, they're kind of the same player in my mind. I just think overall talent-wise, Clyde will be better, but Damian has the veteran. He has the experience and the veteran mentality, and no training camp potentially, which I know they're supposed to be starting up Monday. This could get real interesting real fast. That'll be for next week's show, I'm sure. But I'm going with Miles Sanders. And in my main redraft with my buddies, I've got the 104, which means I'll have the 209, and there's a really good chance, like John said, that it's going to go higher. If I want him, I may have to take him at that 209. I've been in several mocks this past week where he wasn't there for me in the 209, so I'm probably not even going to get him at the 209. And that again, that goes right along with what you guys were saying. So if I could get him at 306, I think it's a steal. So by this ADP, I'm absolutely going with Miles.
And it's redraft too. So
Yeah.
I understand your argument, you know.
Right.
You know, I think Clyde Edwards-Helaire, you know, could be kind of where Miles Sanders was last year. And we could be talking about Clyde Edwards-Helaire next year like we're talking about Miles Sanders this year. That being said, you know, similar, both of them coming out of college, you know, Miles Sanders sat behind Saquon Barkley, had one season where he did very well at Penn State. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, you know, he sat behind running back prospects, and then now he had a breakout season. I do think Clyde Edwards-Helaire played against tougher competition at college, and he did more against that tougher competition at college. I do think he wasn't expected to do as much as he did this season going into this season. You know, all that being said, I think that people can doubt him, and I think Damian Williams could go in as the player the coaches trust and Patrick Mahomes trusts. But a guy like that, I see him earning trust really early on because he's tough and he's gritty. And those are two things you can't coach and you can't teach. All right. And I think that's going to endear him to his coaches and the players around him. And I think he's going to earn playing time early on. Now, do I want to make a decision based upon, you know, and I'm saying, if I'm you, do I want to listen to me and make a decision based upon how I'm describing things could happen? I don't know. But personally, I'm taking Clyde Edwards-Helaire because I think he's going to break out. I think he's going to, like I said, endear himself to the coaches because he's willing to do the dirty work. And that'll earn him some playing time. So if I could get a guy, you know, as my, you know, RB2 at 6'3", rather than, you know, Miles Sanders, you know, at 3'6", if I don't have a running back yet, you know, maybe I'm taking him. Okay. Because, you know, I might see him as RB1 upside. If I already have a running back one, you know, say I take in the first or second round, I'm passing Sanders at 3'6", and I'm taking Edwards-Helaire at 6'3". All right. So I kind of played both sides of the fence there. I don't know if that's necessarily fair, but that's what I'm choosing. Now let's move on to Dynasty. Okay. This first one here is Travis Kelce, 27th overall, or Mark Andrews at 65th overall. I'm surprised they're so far in Dynasty. Nate, who are you taking?
Mark Andrews. You know, Kelce's probably number one, number two in the NFL. I mean, Mark Andrews, I don't think is too far behind him. But I don't know what's going to happen contract-wise. I know Mahomes loves to throw to him, but, you know, with that big contract, it's hard to tell what's going to happen in the next couple of years. And I just, you know, I think Mark Andrews last year was pretty awesome, and I think there's a lot more to come.
Justin.
I hate spending a third-round pick on a tight end. But that being said, I still think that Kelce has a good 4 or 5 years left in him. I know he's in his 30s, but if you look at the tight end history, the great ones, they keep going. They'll last a while. Except Gronk, but even he's back. Who knows what could happen there too? So
Madden gave him a 95 overall rating.
That is ridiculous.
I swear. Yeah, Gronk.
Yeah, I saw that today.
Oh man, he paid somebody.
Or someone's being paid that shouldn't be. One or the other.
Yeah.
Man, I don't know, but I'm going to go with Kelce. Like I said, especially in like a tight end premium or something like that. Even if it's 2 more good years, like great years, 2 more Kelce years, compared to what Mark Andrews did, and you're going to see a regression with Mark Andrews. You almost have to. Like, I mean, maybe not. Maybe he is that next Kelce, that next Kittle, whatever. But I don't know. I want to see another year before I fall into a believer that he's an elite tight end. I mean, he very well might be. At the very least, he's going to be a solid tight end. I definitely agree with that for a longer period of time. But if I can get 3 or 4 good, solid years from Kelce, that gives me plenty of time to work the trades or work drafts and try to find his replacement on my dynasty team.
Yeah, and I think I don't draft tight ends that early. So I'm taking Andrews just because in Dynasty, I don't take tight ends that early. I'd rather go late and take somebody with upside than invest a pick like that, unless it's tight end premium, and we didn't specify. So I'm going to go Mark Andrews because I do think the offense, I know you said, he should regress, but I do think they have, a few more weapons around Lamar Jackson this season, and that could take some of the attention off of Mark Andrews. And I think we could see him, do just as well, if not better. I think he might have a little more space. He's a receiving threat. I'm taking Andrews. So let's move on. Juju Smith-Schuster, 23rd overall, 10th pick of the second round, or Terry McLaurin, 47th overall pick, 11th pick in the 4th round. Justin, who are you taking?
In Dynasty, I'm going to take McLaurin. We saw a season without AB and without Big Ben, and it was not good. So Big Ben's only going to be around for another season, probably, most likely. McLaurin, he's got the Jets. I think this is an obvious for Dynasty anyway. To me, this is an obvious one that I'm going to go McLaurin if I can get him 2 rounds after Juju, mostly because I don't want to spend a 2nd-round pick on Juju.
Nate, what do you got?
At first, I kind of was leaning towards Juju because I'm not real sure about what's going on in Washington right now with all the news we recently got. But I mean, I know it's Dynasty, so what's going on now really shouldn't matter. And the more I think about it, I think, like Justin said, waiting 2 more rounds, because by that time I'll have 1, maybe 2 receivers anyways, just depending on how the draft's going. So yeah, I think I'm going to go with McLaurin at the 4-11.
I'm going McLaurin as well. I think McLaurin's a better player. And I do think, I think there's just as much uncertainty with Pittsburgh, maybe not around the entire franchise, but in general, with that offense as there is in Washington. And maybe there's more upside in Washington's offense than there is in Pittsburgh's. And Pittsburgh's got, Deontay Johnson, who's no scrub. And, I think Juju, I think is going to be the alpha there, but I think Deontay is going to be a close second fiddle. And I think Terry McLaurin's clearly the guy there. He dominated. And, there were stretches there where you kind of expected him to cool off, and he just continued to dominate. And he continued to beat, top level corners like they stole something from him. So I think this year I bought Terry McLaurin everywhere. So I'm taking him, at 4-11 over Juju Smith-Schuster. Now, this last one, the last ones of the ones that I put up there, because you guys have a few as well, is Aaron Jones, 26th overall. I'm very interested to see what Nate's got to say about this one, being he's a Packers fan. The first pick of the 3rd round, or Jonathan Taylor. And now Justin's a Colts fan. 56th pick overall, 5th pick in the 5th round. Nate, who are you taking?
I had to think about this one for a little while just because of what you said, but after listening to an interview with Aaron Jones yesterday, I think I'm more sold on him than I was, whether it is redraft or dynasty. He's hungry this year, and I think he's going to get paid wherever it is. And I think he's proven that he's a top 10 back in my opinion. Whether if you want to call me a homer or not, but I think he's proven it. And Jonathan Taylor is going to be a monster, and I really like him a lot. But who knows what's going to happen for the first couple of years?
Justin.
I got to believe in my rookie. I got to believe in my rookie. So if I can go 2 rounds later, now, for redraft, I think it was going to pretty obviously be Aaron Jones. But I believe I agree with you, Nate, that after this year, he's no longer going to be a Packer. I also believe, like you said, that he will probably sign on and get paid somewhere. But we also don't know where that's going to be, or what that's going to do to him, or what kind of committee he's going to, or offensive scheme he's going to, or anything like that. So We know what we're getting with Jonathan Taylor. We're getting 1 year of Marlon Mack in the last year of his contract, and then we're getting a full dose of Marlon Mack for 2 or 3 years. Jonathan Taylor for 2 or 3 years. So I think I'm going to wait 2 rounds and pick my rookie here.
Yeah, I'm going Jonathan Taylor as well. Jonathan Taylor, Aaron Jones is a good football player, but Jonathan Taylor was special. Like that kid, and there is something to be said about a player transitioning to the NFL and making the step. Aaron Jones transitioned to the NFL and he's shown us that he can produce. And, we've seen Wisconsin backs come to the NFL and dominate at the college level and phase out. I don't even think Melvin Gordon's kind of lived up to the expectations of what he did at Wisconsin, but Jonathan Taylor, I think he was on a whole nother level of than Melvin Gordon or Monty Ball. This cat all he did was just run for 100 yards regularly. And that Indianapolis Colts offensive line is a sight to be seen. And he's going to be running back behind that for years. And they're probably going to be putting in a young quarterback within the next year or two. What do offensive coaches like to do to protect their young quarterback and to keep him from making mistakes? Run the ball, pound the rock, protect him, play action pass. Pound the rock, play action pass. I think that's going to be what the Colts are going to do for the next 3 or 4 years after Rivers is gone. I'm going Jonathan Taylor. All right. So, Justin, you put a list of a few up here. I'm going to read through these as well. We're going to start with redraft. You had Marlon Mack, 75th pick overall, with Damian Williams. And this is very interesting because we talked about Clyde Edwards-Helaire. We talked about Jonathan Taylor. But now we're talking redraft. Justin, who are you taking?
Well, that's why I chose this one. I wanted to try to pick guys that were in similar situations as best I could. So Marlon Mack and Damian Williams, I feel like they're both kind of on their way out of their current homes because the young rookies are coming up. This is just redraft, though, and in my mind, I think we're going to be more likely to see Damian Williams for longer than what we're going to see Marlon Mack in Indianapolis this season before the changing of the guard really starts to hand over. So I think I'm going to go with Damian Williams because even if I'm wrong and they're about even and they both hold on for most of the season, I'm still getting Damian Williams for 2 rounds at a 2-round better cost. So I'm going to roll with Damian Williams in this one.
Nate, what you got?
Same thing, Damian Williams, just because I feel like, I said I know I was taking Edwards-Helaire earlier, but I think, Williams has a chance to hold him off longer than Marlon Mack does. So,
and I think if we're picking handcuffs with good situations, I think I'd rather get my handcuff a little later. So I don't know if that's a good enough reason to take Damian Williams here. But I do think Damian Williams, again, he's shown more than Marlon Mack has shown. I think Damian Williams will probably, if we're talking best ball, I think I'm taking Damian Williams as well because I think he's going to have more higher ceiling games. I think he'll probably have 3 or 4 good games this year. I don't know how many Marlon Mack's going to have, maybe 1 or 2. So give me Damian Williams. Now we got Swift at 150th overall, or J.K. Dobbins. I don't know why I keep doing that tonight, throwing eyes at 87th.
It's all overall. That yoga, the blood's going to your head.
Yeah, man, that's what got to be. That's got to be what it is.
That's what you got to look forward to, Nate.
Yeah. Inversions, man. The inversions will get you. All right, so Nate, who are you taking? You taking Swift or Dobbins?
I'm going DeAndre Swift for a couple of reasons. One, I don't know what Dobbins' role this year will be with Mark Ingram still there. Hopefully the emergence of Justice Hill. Probably not, though. I'm probably just putting those eggs in a basket for no reason. But I think Swift has an opportunity to take over because Kerryon Johnson hasn't been able to really stay healthy. I know they want to run the ball, even though Matty throws it all over the field. But, I'm just going with Swift here just because I think he's got a quicker opportunity to playing time than Dobbins does.
Justin, who you got?
I got a response to one of our listeners here. I got Swift as well. I think that Swift is going to have a more immediate impact, a more immediate role. So for redraft, that makes sense. Also, 5 rounds cheaper for a guy that I think is going to be a better redraft player anyway. So I think it's kind of a no-brainer for me.
I'm going Dobbins, man. I I think that Ingram can eat and Dobbins can eat in that offense. I know we talked Andrews up earlier, but I think there's, I saw Ingram produce in a backfield with Alvin Kamara. I'm not saying the Saints are the Ravens, and I'm not saying Dobbins is Kamara, but I'm saying that, I think there's enough balls to go around. I do think, and I also think that I don't trust Detroit at all. I know Baltimore can run the ball. I know they ran the ball a lot last year. I know they had a lot of touchdowns on the ground, and I think Dobbins is going to step in, and I think it's going to be a 50-50 split. I think, I think it's going to start out, probably 60, 30, 10 between Ingram, Dobbins.
Uh-oh, you lose him?
Yeah, that's definitely John this time, right?
Yeah, definitely. I don't know where he went.
All right, so we're going to go ahead and move on. We're going to jump in here at a redraft option. Tyrell Williams, 131 overall at the 11-11, or Alshon Jeffrey, 132 overall at the 11-11 average. So only one spot different overall, and probably only just because they had to put somebody in there. What do you got here, Nate?
I didn't even know. I looked at this and just kind of laughed, I guess. I was a big Alshon guy when he came out of South Carolina. I was a big fan. And he just kind of, he went to Chicago, which I wasn't a fan of, but it seemed like he didn't live up to his expectations. I think, I think he's shown a little bit. And I think that late, I think I'm going to go with Alshon because we don't know what's going on in Philly with Deshaun Jackson. I know, I just lost train of thought. Sorry, that Rager's there. So they're thinking he might take over, but I still think Jeffrey's got some time left. Maybe a little bit of prove-it time to get a contract somewhere else. Maybe not sure if he's a free agent or not, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, with Tyrell also, they drafted a couple more wide receivers. They drafted Bowden to catch balls out of the backfield. They've got 3 tight ends there now with Waller, the other rookie that kept stealing touchdowns, and now Jason Witten, and we got Coach back. So I think if
sorry about that.
Choose between two, you're good. If I have to choose between 2 horrible options really late in the draft, and I'm not allowed to choose to go ahead and take my defense here, then I'll just go ahead and go with Alshon.
Oh, you can't take a defense at 11. Who's playing with defense anyways anymore? Come on now.
Exactly. It was. I mean, it was that or a kicker. I don't know. Between those 2 and these 2 guys right here, I don't know. I guess I'll go Alshon. I mostly threw this one in as a joke, and I'm glad to laugh out of it, Nate.
Oh yeah.
All right, John. What about you?
Yeah, you can miss me with this one. I heard I come into, if I have to choose between 2 horrible options, I think I'd rather not choose. I think we could just move on to Dynasty. We got Darren Waller right at 74th overall tight end, or Noah Fant at 117th overall. I'm interested to see there's significant age difference here, and both are pretty talented and both produced last year. Both are trending upwards, but there's a significant value, draft position difference as well as age difference here. So, Nate, who are you taking?
I'm taking Fant, whatever you want to call him. I like what I'm seeing out of Drew Lock. I like what I saw of the 2 of them last year, and I think that the 3-round difference is a big one for me. Kind of the same as you, like you said earlier. Even with tight end premium, I don't take tight ends very early, and I really haven't, and I don't plan on changing for any reason. Not that the 7th round's early, but yeah, I'm with Denver for sure on this one.
Justin.
I agree. I want all those extra options that they threw in for Derek Carr. And, I mean, Carr's not the greatest quarterback, but a lot of people are saying that they brought Mariota in there to give him some pressure. So if they throw in Mariota, then that passing game just got worse. So I think I'm just going to stick with Fant. I'm not a believer in Lock, so I think that's going to bode well for Fant. They like to dump off to their tight ends when they're on the run. So I'm going to go with Noah Fant.
So, I mean, they did bring in some options in Denver. They got Jerry Jeudy. Who's that cat from Penn State? I can't think of his name right now. Yeah, KJ Hamler. And Albert Okwuegbunam, who was the tight end that was actually Drew Lock's tight end, and he had his best seasons with Drew Lock.
I did forget about Big Al. But I'll still
take Courtland Sutton's hanging around, and I don't think Deshaun Hamilton's done. I think he's still there in like the 20th or 21st round in my Scott Fishbowl draft, so I think I'm going to pick him up next round.
I'm still going Fant. I had to say Fant because that's how you guys are pronouncing it. For some reason, I say Font. I don't.
East Coast
Maybe he's French.
I don't know him. So we can call him whatever. We can call him whatever we want. We only got 2 people streaming this episode.
Yeah, we're good.
I'm going Fant. So now this next one is very juicy. We got Jordan Love, who is going undrafted. I can't be in Dynasty right now. At this point, he's got to be drafted, but ADP is slowly getting updated. So I'm sure within a few weeks that's going to change a little bit. But Aaron Rodgers is going 33rd over. You know what? It's probably going undrafted in 1 QB league. So I'm wrong because I'm in so many Superflex leagues that instantly that's what I go to. But I'm clearly wrong. I could see him going undrafted in 1 QB Dynasty leagues. So again, that's where he is.
I think part of it too is that our ADP site that we used only goes up to the 15th round.
Okay, so that is something else as well.
So he might be being drafted on average. It's just later than the 15th round.
Right. MFL needs to put out like their ADP. It needs to be accessible when you're not drafting because it's there when you're drafting, or someone needs to constantly just be doing mock drafts, and recording their ADP and just throwing it in an article. That'd be very helpful.
They could maybe do that.
Yeah, or you could do it and just be a saint of ADP. All right, so Aaron Rodgers, 33rd overall, or Jordan Love. Nate, I gotta let you go first because this is your team here. So who you taking?
Yeah, well, the problem is if it's a startup, I am having a very hard time using my 3rd round pick on Aaron Rodgers when we don't know, not necessarily if he's going to be in Green Bay or not, but just, what's he got left, 3-4 years? Who knows? Maybe more, maybe less. But I'm going to take somebody else, probably in the 1st or 2nd, depending on who's out there. And I'm not looking to spend a 3rd round pick on A-Rod. So I'm sorry to say that. I can't actually believe I really just said that.
And it is 1 QB too. So, I mean, it's not crazy that you don't want to take a quarterback that early.
Yeah.
So I feel you. So don't feel too bad. He's still your guy.
He is.
Right. He's still your guy. He won the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
He broke up with Danica, though, so he might be a little upset.
No, it's time to play football. He doesn't have time for that.
Yeah. I remember when Roma was dating that country singer. And no, before her. The one from American Idol. What was her name?
The other blonde singer. I don't know.
And she sang a song about slashing her boyfriend's tires. And, yes. I was like, as soon as I heard that song, I was like, this dude needs to break up with this chick ASAP. We can't be having keys going to tires when we're in a playoff run. You know what I mean? But anyway, I digress.
I heard on the radio today that Rodgers and Danica are done.
Yeah, that's what we're saying.
Oh, okay. All right. Sorry, I was looking at the comments here because Josh over at Fusion is saying there's no way he would take Fant in the 10th round. He said neither, but if he had to, he's taking Waller.
Someone likes Albert Justin Bagley. I wonder if I'm pronouncing that name right. Now you guys got me questioning everything. I'm questioning. I'm questioning all my pronunciations. All right. So, Justin, you taking Rodgers or you taking Love?
Well, I guess it's kind of a cop-out response, but I think it just kind of depends on who I got in those first 2 rounds. If I think I'm pretty confident that I've got a win now team after getting like a Zeke and maybe an Adams to start the first 2 rounds, and I want to pair up Adams with Rodgers maybe or something like that. I don't know. If I think I got a win now team, I might go with Rodgers, but otherwise in a startup, I typically like to go as young as possible. And that's what we're talking about here as a startup realistically, because if this is a rookies draft, we wouldn't have Rodgers. So in a startup, and I'm trying to go younger, I would probably, like Nate said, take another quarterback earlier. And then focus on getting somebody
in,
like
in one QB. You're taking someone earlier than the third round?
No, in one QB, I'm not taking Rodgers at all in the third round. I'm not taking a quarterback at all that high.
Yeah.
But that ADP we were looking at was for 2 quarterback, I'm pretty
sure.
Oh,
okay. Yeah. So then that throws me all off here. Well, if we're talking 2 QB, then I get it. But then I also don't understand why. I guess the 15th round is why Jordan Love isn't being picked. It's considered undrafted. If it was the 5th round in 2 QB, I'll take Rodgers. That's about as early as I'll take Rodgers. What do you guys say to that?
Yeah, it's still 2 QB. It says that his average draft position is 307.
I'm not taking him there. I'll take him if he, because I've seen him fall a little bit. If it's 5th or 6th round, I'll take him. You know what I mean? And then I'd love him as my QB too in the 5th or 6th round. And like you said, if I'm ready to win now, and I could have him be like, if I can have a young cat like a Dak or like a Kyler. You know what I mean? Yep. I got one of those 2 guys, and then I can take Rodgers in the 5th or 6th, and then I can take – and I'm cheating again because this isn't the scenario. I'm creating my own scenario, but I'm allowed to do that. And then Jordan Love, I can get him later. Now I got Kyler Murray, Aaron Rodgers, and so this isn't a scenario, but that's what I would like. But luckily you guys answered the question correctly. All right, last one that Justin put up was Melvin Gordon, 34th overall, or Philip Lindsay, 96th overall. I'm just going to jump in, and I'm going to say I'm taking Philip Lindsay because I don't think Melvin Gordon is going to take the job from Philip Lindsay. I think Philip Lindsay is a savage. I think he's quick. I think he's elusive. I don't care if the coaches brought Melvin Gordon in thinking this dude's taking the rock from him. I don't think Melvin Gordon's an alpha. I think Austin Eckler took the job from him last year. Melvin Gordon saw that from the sideline, came back to the Chargers with his tail between his legs, and I think Philip Lindsay, he had to fight, scratch, tooth and nail just to make the roster. It wasn't even drafted, came out and jumped onto the scene, produced last year coming off of no offseason with his wrist injury. This year he should be coming in fresh. Give me him in the 8th round. Melvin Gordon, I think Lindsay's going to outproduce Melvin Gordon straight up. Justin, what do you think?
Who did Lindsay beat out? I know that there were some injuries that even got him in the starting spot. Then
Royce Freeman.
Royce Freeman. Okay, exactly.
Right, but Royce Freeman's somebody they drafted higher than him. I think Royce Freeman was like a 2nd or 3rd round pick coming out of Oregon.
Yeah, but, you can have a good draft position.
But if you're the GM or the head coach, you take your guy, especially in the 2nd or 3rd round. You're doing everything you can to help that player succeed. That's significant draft capital. There's something to be said about that.
Yeah, okay. But even with that, he still wasn't able to excel, and he let an undrafted guy beat him out, right?
Yeah, but I think Lindsay's better than him.
Yeah, maybe. But I'm trying to make the comparison here. Everything that you just said about Melvin Gordon, about how he's not an alpha dog, and he let he got beat out by Eckler and all that, is kind of how I feel the same way about Lindsay in a way, except like I think that I feel like Gordon excelled when he did because he was in that offense at the right time when there wasn't really anybody else to beat out. Danny Woodhead, and then when Eckler comes on, all of a sudden he's not that great. I don't think that Lindsay's that good either. I don't think that either of them are that good is what I'm trying to get at. I think they're both overrated running backs, like way overrated running backs. And I think that they're gonna have to split in this offense for one major reason is because I also don't believe in Drew Lock, and I think they're going to have to run the ball like crazy. That being said, it is a good run offensive line. Lindsay did really well in that offense, and I don't see why he couldn't excel in it as well again. And Melvin could also. I think it's going to be a pretty huge split. So if I'm getting one at the 3rd round and one at the 8th round, I'm going to go with the 8th round and Lindsay. So it's draft capital and fantasy draft for me. That's gonna split the difference. But I'm not 100% confident in either one of them.
Okay, Nate, who you got?
Yeah, I'm not really a Philip Lindsay guy. I haven't been. Probably because I was a big Royce Freeman fan coming out of college, and he just, looks like he
if you go back and watch his film though, Royce Freeman, he ran behind some holes at Oregon that you could drive a bus through.
Yeah, but like you said, or Justin said too, with the price there, 3rd round, 8th round, I got to take Philip Lindsay just because I'm not taking Melvin Gordon in the third. He hasn't done anything, so I'm out.
All right, let's move on to the final 6 we got here. We got Nate came through with some of these ADP here. We got redraft again. We got Dallas Goedert, 144th overall, or Blake Jarwin, 146. So this one's a real pick 'em because these guys are going basically right next to each other, play the same position. So Nate, you wrote this one up. Who you got?
Yeah, Dallas, because I think Ertz is on the way out, and I think even last year he was able to produce with Ertz in there, and I'm just not real sure on Jarwin. There are a lot of mouths to feed in that Dallas offense right now, and so that's why I'm going to take Goedert, whatever you want to call him.
Who you got, Justin?
Well, since it's Nate Dirt, we're going to call him Go Dirt.
There you go.
No, I gotta go with the guy that I've been touting all offseason in this situation. They're both 12th round picks, and it's a redraft, and the 12th round is about where I've been getting this guy anyway. I believe firmly, wholeheartedly, that Blake Jarwin is going to be a top 10 fantasy tight end with
I hope you're right.
A lot of top 5 games. So I got to go with the guy that I've been touting, but this is a really good scenario. I don't believe that Goedert would really fall to the 12th round in most scenarios. I think he's going a little bit earlier, and I've even seen several people, especially in Scott Fishbowl, that took Ertz early on that handcuffed their tight end with Goedert because, it makes sense. I don't think I could ever do it, but it actually makes sense. But I'm going to go with Blake Jarwin. I know there's a lot of mouths to feed, like you said, Nate. And as long as all the wide receivers can actually stay healthy for one season in Philly, there's a lot of mouths to feed there too, including another tight end. So, and also I kind of believe in Dak more than I believe in Wentz when it comes right down to it. So I'm gonna go with Blake Jarwin, and I'm not even a Cowboys fan.
Respect. It's Ali G, but I'm taking Goedert because I don't like the mouths to feed, and I just haven't seen it from Blake Jarwin. I've seen when he plays the Giants, start him. That dude, if you look at some of his numbers the last 2 years versus Giants, I think he's had like 2-3 touchdown games versus them, which is ridiculous. He can stretch the field. He's long. He's got good hands, but and we're changing offenses, so it's hard to know what he's going to be like in Mike McCarthy's offense because I only know what he's like in Jason Garrett's offense. So, but I do know that I like what Nate said. I don't trust Zach Ertz to stay healthy. I know Goedert can produce with Ertz on the field and without Ertz on the field. Goedert, you guys know, you played with me in fantasy. He helped me win 2 tight end premium leagues last year. I was able to start him as my tight end 2 and get tight end 1 production. So I'm going Goedert. The next one, we got DJ Moore, 55th overall, or Calvin Ridley, 46th overall. Justin, who are you taking?
This is tough because I believe in both. And I don't know.
This is a scenario where you'd love to go running back.
Yeah.
Tight end, and then get them both. You know? Yeah.
The 4 and the 5, and I think they're a good value at both of them.
Right.
But I will say that with Julio there still performing, I don't know. I think I would rather go with the number 1 in an offense that I think is going to have to pass the ball a lot. Even with CMC there, I just feel like they're going to have to pass the ball a lot. There's not very good defenses in their division, so they're going to be throwing the ball anyway, just as part of the game plan a lot more naturally. So, obviously the same for the Falcons. They're in the same division, but I think I'd rather have the number 1 on a pass-heavy offense than a number 2 on what I think is probably still going to be a pass-heavy offense.
And Teddy, he likes to check down. I think DJ Moore is going to get a lot of those just garbage, 3-yard, 4-yard. He's like what I said with AJ Brown. I think he's going to have similar production just because he's going to get a lot of touches. Nate, what do you think?
Teddy's efficient too, and he's going to move the ball. He's going to get the first downs. That's going to keep them out on the field, which theoretically should give them
more opportunities. Nate, what do you think?
I am a huge DJ Moore fan. I have been. I have him. I don't know if I have him in every Dynasty league. Pretty close to it, I think. Actually, no, I don't have him in everyone. But and I don't think I can. That ADP seems off for some reason. You know, I don't really trust Teddy Bridgewater, but I trust DJ Moore. And like Justin said, I'd rather have a wide receiver 1 than a 2. But I would take both of them if I could back to back.
You know, I was talking to you guys earlier about, you know, and I posted on Twitter about the Kool-Aid, you know, with Miles Sanders, everyone drinking Miles Sanders Kool-Aid. I was drinking Calvin Ridley Kool-Aid, like heavily, you know, his first 2 years. And, you know, what Nate said about the ADP, you know, I feel like, you know, it might be a little off there. I think DJ Moore is going a little bit higher. I think I'd take DJ Moore for the same argument that you guys said. And also it's a round later in this current scenario. He's a wide receiver 1 and he's going around later. Give me that. If we're talking dynasty, you know, I think it's also basically toss up as well because they're both very young, both have high upside. But I do, you know, DJ Moore, he's just, you know, he's great with the ball in his hands. He's a good route runner. He's explosive. He's a good athlete. But Calvin Ridley is a technician. Like Calvin Ridley is so quarterback friendly. I think he's just, you know, if something was to happen to Matt Ryan, you know, and then somebody else came in, I think Calvin Ridley could produce with anybody as long as they can throw the football just because he can get open. And when you get open, you produce. You know what I mean? But I think they're both pretty safe picks. So, you know, I'm going to go with DJ Moore, but I wouldn't be upset with Calvin Ridley. Now, this next one's interesting. We got Chris Carson, 38th overall, which seems a little early, given that we don't really know what he's going to look like this year. And then Le'Veon Bell, 43rd overall, which might seem a little late based upon his ADP, you know, in the years past. But I think given the current state of things, this is right where they should be. So what do you guys think? Nate, who do you pick?
I'm going with Chris Carson. I know we're kind of not sure what's going to happen with the injury history, and they make it sound like he's going to be ready to go. And I don't really trust the Jets or anybody with Adam Gase. So unfortunately, I mean, I wish I could take Lev Bell here later just because he's not hurt. But I got to go Chris Carson for redraft this year just because can't stand Adam Gase.
Can't stand Adam Gase. Justin, who you got?
Well, I agree with what Nate said, but at the same time, I'm going to take Le'Veon Bell. So, like, I believe that Chris Carson's in a much better offense, and I believe that there's a good chance that he's not going to be hurt, but there's enough questions around it that we just don't know. And with Lev Bell, at least we know he's healthy. We know he's going to play. And I also feel strongly that they're ready to move on from Lev Bell after his contract's up. They drafted Perrine. I know they went out and got Gore, so that's telling me that they, for at least for this year, they're still confident in Bell to be their workhorse. So we know he's going to get every opportunity. So in the 4th round, as my RB2 or 3, I like a workhorse at that point. So I think I'd probably go Bell.
Yeah, I think given where we are right now, I'd go Bell. If I had heard news that Carson looks good or is healthy, is ready to come in as RB1, I think I would quickly shift to Chris Carson. But given that we haven't had any training camp, no news about Chris Carson, I'm going to lean Bell. But if you tell me Chris Carson's healthy and he's ready, then I'm taking him. So now, Dynasty. I really like this next question. So again, we're shifting Dynasty. This is 2 QB. We're talking CeeDee Lamb, 83rd overall, or Jerry Jeudy, 104th overall. They're both going to be second fiddle, at least that's what they're expected to be. You got Cortland Sutton in Denver, and then you got Amari Cooper in Dallas. Justin, who you taking?
I'm taking CeeDee just because it's Dynasty. And in redraft, it would be a little bit more difficult decision because I think that CeeDee is going to be even more prevalent after Amari's gone. But I also I really like CeeDee in Dynasty. This offense is Dak's going to get that big extension. Don't worry, guys. I know he's on his franchise tag this year. And a lot of people are upset about it, but I don't know. What is it, John? Like 40, 50 million probably at this point.
That he's going to be making like yearly?
1 year for the
No, it's 31. He's only making 30. So next year, I think it's going to be even higher. So I think
5 on 31 mil, and he's going to get that contract. I'm not. Right. If Dallas doesn't give it to him next year, then he's going somewhere else and he'll get it.
He'd have to get hurt, and they'd have to have like a top 3 pick. You know,
I mean, like Houston would probably trade away Watson for him in a heart.
But like, if we really want to go down this road, like I'm not going to talk too long about this, but they would have to know that they're getting Trevor Lawrence Justin Fields or Trey Lance. They would have to know that, in order to move on from Dak. But that's not the question.
And that's not going to happen because they're
Right.
going to be successful this season. So I'm going.
I like it. Nate, who are you taking?
CeeDee Lamb, just because, like you said, I think Amari eventually is going to be gone. And I liked him anyways coming out of college. He was my wide receiver 1 in the draft, and that's where I'm going.
I went back and watched some of his highlights today, and just so talented. So glad he ended up in Dallas. I had no
Don't you do that every morning?
Yeah, well, we don't have to give everybody a look behind the curtains, but I do. Every morning I wake up and watch CeeDee Lamb highlights. That's when I'm drinking my coffee. But I like Jerry Jeudy. Jerry Jeudy, like I talked about Calvin Ridley. Jerry Jeudy's a lot like Ridley and Cooper, and that might sound like lazy analysis because they all went to Alabama, but no, they all can route you up. They're all technicians. They all can get open. They know what they're doing. They're very good at their craft. They treat it like a craft. Like you could tell. They know what they're doing. They know why they're doing it. But CeeDee Lamb, he's just special. And, I want that. I want that on my roster. And, again, I think even if Amari does stay around, because his contract, I think he's going to be there for about 2 years before they can get out. I think Amari's a 2, and I think he's okay with that. And I think CeeDee is eventually going to become the 1. So give me that. Now, the next one here, we got Devin Singletary, 41st overall, or Austin Eckler, 47th overall. Nate, who are you taking?
Taking Singletary. My, big fan anyways. Even with Zach Moss getting drafted, I think there'll be a pretty good 1-2 punch. And I'm not really sure what's going to happen in San Diego. So,
Justin.
Interacting. Austin Eckler. Austin Eckler, definitely. Because they're pretty much the same ADP here. Oh wait, no, this is Dynasty. Okay,
right.
I was a little sidetracked.
Okay.
Yeah,
we got to keep we got, so everyone who's listening at home, we got tons of people interacting with us on YouTube. You should definitely subscribe and watch live because Justin's constantly just chatting with all these people in our chat that are just reacting to the show.
Well, we agreed before that if we started to push too late that we would start talking faster. So I should have known that Nate was going to be smart and actually do what we said we were going to do.
Yeah.
But so I guess I'll go Singletary here in a dynasty just because we don't really know what's going to happen in the distant future, and with that quarterback situation, I don't know. Herbert seems to be the kind of guy that's going to dump off pretty regularly, so Eckler could still continue to be huge, but with Singletary being younger, and I still believe that Singletary's good, I'm going to go ahead and go with Singletary.
Now, I know we were supposed to speed up, but say you haven't drafted a running back. So I'm sorry. Say you have an RB1 already. You took a running back in the first 2 rounds. Does that change the way you look at this? Would you be more inclined to take Eckler, if you had a running back already that you felt really comfortable with as your 1? Like, would you slot Eckler in as your 2 this year? Worry about getting a running back long-term later? Nate's saying no. Justin, does that change your thought process at all?
I don't know. I think my thought process here is that Nate came up with a pretty good example here. I don't know, man. This is tough, but I don't know.
I think we should take Devin Singletary and put him in the big one. I think he belongs in the big one. They're going to find
talking up the big one all day.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, he's another guy. They're both year 2 guys. That's what I'm saying. Like, I'll get into this. All right. Last one before we get into the big one. Kareem Hunt, 65th overall, or Darius Geis, 71st overall. Nate, I'm telling you, man, if we could give awards out for who did best ADP this episode, you killed it. These are great. I like, because me and Justin, we separated them pretty far to make it a little interesting, but the fact that you changed up the flavor a little bit and made them so close that it was difficult to pick, I think was great for this segment. So Hunt or Geis, toss up. Who you taking, Justin?
Darius Geis. I'm gonna risk the injury risk and take the upside in the talent and the fact that there's not much else in Washington. I believe that if Darius Geis is healthy, he's going to be a top 10 back in this league. So, and obviously Kareem Hunt can be that too. We've seen that, but not in Cleveland, I don't think. So we don't know where.
Dude, did you see that video of him when he got pulled over?
Yeah.
Oh, I heard it. I listened to it. I didn't actually
Watch it. Watch it.
I listened to it.
Not a good look. Not a good look. Nate, what about you? What do you think?
I don't trust Hunt to. I'd like him to stay out of trouble. He's fun to watch, but he's definitely not better than Nick Chubb. And yeah, I mean, I love Darius Geis. You know that, and I mean, everybody that talks to me knows I do. So yeah, I'm taking Geis all day.
We're all on the Geis train, man. So I'm gonna roll with this one. It's Geis, baby, all the way.
Yep.
All right. This Josh from FusionFantasyFootball.com and the Fusion Fantasy Football Podcast wants to know Taylor or Sanders straight up in Dynasty. We're talking Jonathan Taylor?
Yes.
Or Miles Sanders?
Correct.
Jonathan Taylor.
Me too.
I don't think it's close.
Yeah, me too.
Jonathan Taylor, go back and look at his production. Miles Sanders is good. The dude could tote the rock. He's slippery. But Jonathan Taylor is generational. You know, I don't think they're in the same.
I drew it up here to kind of help segue into the big one, just to kind of get you primed and ready to go, because we've been talking about this all day long on Twitter.
Right.
And I know at least John and I have a difference of opinion here. So I think one of us will go first, the other one next, and then Nate can be our tiebreaker here. So
for those listening at home and not watching that can't see what Justin threw up there or haven't followed along with what I'm saying on Twitter, I'm poking the bear a little bit. I am poking the bear a little bit. Miles Sanders, this is, I'm guessing, Dynasty, because we talked redraft earlier. That his ADP was 31st overall in redraft. It's 12th overall in Dynasty right now. Miles Sanders is going 12th overall in Dynasty right now. And David Montgomery is going 47th. I think it is absolutely ridiculous that everybody thinks that he is going to be an all-pro this season. That's the way this dude's getting talked about right now. And so much so that if you say a guy like David Montgomery, who outproduced Miles Sanders in college, had less around him, did more with less, and last year he didn't produce as well as Miles Sanders did, but he didn't get, they both kind of had to share the rock. So I think they both kind of had to play second fiddle a little bit. But, I don't think there's enough evidence out there to prove that Montgomery is that far behind Miles Sanders that you can't even mention him in the same sentence without getting blasted. So at 47 overall, give me David Montgomery. I will take that over taking Miles Sanders 12th overall any day. Justin, go ahead.
Okay, so here's the thing. When we throw up the ADPs and we have to make this decision, yes, I agree. I'm going to go with David Montgomery. But where I have the issue from earlier today on Twitter was when you said that David Montgomery was going to outscore
outproduce
Miles Sanders this season.
Mm-hmm.
This season, okay?
I'm talking Matt Forte numbers.
So what you're saying is that in a redraft, head up, one-on-one, you're taking David Montgomery before you take Miles Sanders. That's what
I'm happy with that. I'm happy with that. Yeah.
That is insane to me. And here's the reason why. Here's the reason why I think it's insane. David Montgomery may even be a more talented back, but he has Mitch Trubisky at quarterback, and he has a shoddy offensive line, and Did
you see what he ran behind at Iowa State?
Did I see what he what?
Ran behind at Iowa State. Go put on that film. But I'm saying, but he's shown he's done it. He's shown he can do it. He's an elusive back. I understand that was college. I get that. Yep. But he's used to having to create. And I think that the game speed is going to slow down from now going into his second year. I think every player, you can't say every player. David Montgomery's an Eagle Scout. The dude's an Eagle Scout. Guys like him, their first offseason, DeMarcus Ware, when he came back to Dallas his first year after Troy, they said, like, the first year after his rookie season, because he played at Troy in college, they said, they turn into a man. I'm telling you, I'm sure this guy's been working. So, and let's not say straight up, because no, I'm not going to take them straight up. I'm not going to take Miles Sanders at his current ADP. I'm going to take David Montgomery at his current ADP, and I'm going to be happy with that because I think he's going to outproduce Miles Sanders because I'm not drafting either of them at Miles Sanders' current ADP. But I'm telling you, I just trust that David Montgomery, I believe he's got a shoddy offensive line. I get that. And there is Mitch Trubisky there, but also I think they're going to want to protect Mitch Trubisky, and I think they're going to be running the ball a lot. So I think Tree Cohen can get touches and Montgomery can get touches as well. I just don't think it's as far off as, like I'm standing behind what I said about David Montgomery, but I almost said that just because I don't think it's that far off. I wanted to get a rise out of people. It's just, like they're so certain that it's and they don't like, it's not that it's like this, it's this to them. And if you're listening to me on air rather than watching me, I'm putting my fingers close together and then far apart because they think it's extremely far apart. And I don't think, how can you tell me that it's that far apart?
I don't know. And again, by that I agree, and you're right. Montgomery is elusive. He rated as one of the most elusive, if not the most elusive, as far as their ratings go. Their elusiveness rating last season in the league, but he still finished like low 20s, early 30s overall in points per game. Even with being that elusive back that you said that he is, he really was that elusive back,
right?
To say that it's going to slow down for him, it might slow down a little bit more. But it already kind of did because he did shake a lot of tackles and still just did not.
I think what's going to increase his, I'm sorry, I keep interrupting you. But I think he's going to get involved more in the pass game. I think they need to get him involved more in space. But use that elusiveness. Don't use that elusiveness in the backfield where he's going to be seeing 3 or 4 defenders in his face. Get him in space where all he has to do is make one guy miss. I think you're going to see a lot more of him because, if you look, you see a lot of guys who like a guy like Zeke, his first season in the NFL, I'm not saying they're similar talent-wise, but he had like 20 receptions. Going into second year, 60 receptions. They gave him a little more. I expect him to put a little more on Montgomery's plate. If he can get somewhere around 40 receptions, I think you're going to see a big rise from him.
Well, Matthew agrees with you as well that they're not very far apart. And I also agree they're not very far apart. I'm just saying that just for this year because
and I did say he's going to outproduce him. So it's fair for you to say you don't think that's going to happen.
That's where I was disagreeing so much. But I think another thing that would help Montgomery is if he could get some more touchdowns. But they're not going to do that if Trubisky can't get them in the red zone.
Right. Well, he's going to have to, again, they're going to have to game plan to get him in space. Because he doesn't have top-end breakaway speed. So he's not going to be running away from guys. But if we're talking, 30 yards out, we could see, touchdowns from 30, 40 yards out, on screens or making a few guys miss. So I see Nate's out of here. So I don't know what happened to him. But, man, it's this was a great episode. This was a lot of fun. I think, Nate hit his home run already, and he had a walk-off. He killed it with the ADP selections he had there.
You didn't need to break our tiebreaker.
Yeah. Guys, I appreciate it. We appreciate it if you like and subscribe the show on YouTube. Again, that is greatly appreciated. We're still looking for 2 more guys in the listener league. Like I mentioned before, we're going to give one away for an Apple Podcast review, the best one by August 1st. And then whether we hit 75 subscribers on YouTube or 300 followers on Twitter, whichever one happens first, we're going to give away another entry to one of those 2. Okay.
Also, for the listener league is to send us the screenshot of you subscribing to our YouTube channel.
And then also we're donating $10 each to Fantasy Cares. Once we get 19 more followers, the number is 239. So help us help somebody out. Guys, give us a follow on Twitter at Toilets Titles. I'm at Coach Sheps. Justin is at JustinFF_Nate, who dipped, is at Nate_Dirt19. Now you can listen to us on Apple Podcasts. You can still listen to us on Podbean, here on YouTube, and on Periscope. Justin, this one's been a banger, man.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. Thank you very much for listening, everybody, and for joining us again. And I cannot wait till next week because we got another great show lined up, possibly with a guest this time. So continue to love each other. We're all in this together. Thanks for meeting up with me tonight, Coach.
Thanks for having me. It's like I'm a guest, but it's fun talking to you, man. It was good. I appreciate it.
Late.